Okay, first off, this is the one you're going to be on, okay? You're going to be on this one, but before you start writing, I want you to just observe some for about 3 minutes. Next week, I am going to give you a test. Here's what's going to be on it, and I will review it more next week. Okay, you're going to do positive and negative number line addition. Okay, that's one thing. So like your negative 4 plus 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 1 would be the answer. When you minus, you go to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, negative 10. Sorry, camera was. So there's that. No, I'm not going through a whole bunch of them. Okay. You should also, probably the hardest ones are these percent off problems. So something costs $60 with 15% off. So I'm going to take 60 minus, and then what I need to do is find out how much is going to come off that, how much actual money amount. Because right now it's 15%, so I can't subtract 15. So again, I divide the percent by 100. Any percent we want to divide by 100. Okay, and then after I get that 0.15, I need to times it by the $60 that the item cost originally. Okay, I divide the percent by 100, and then I times it by 60. Okay, that gives me 9, so it'd be $9 off. So then their final price, 60 minus 9 is 51. Okay, so again, percent divided by 100 times this, and that tells you how much money you get to subtract from your price. Okay, the 3 equivalent fractions, what you did yesterday, you just write 5/9 3 times, and then it would be good 2 times 2 times 3 times 4, and you'll come up with 3 of the same fraction. Okay, another thing is just looking at a diagram and telling me which fraction is shaded. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's 5 parts, 3 are shaded, so 3/5. I don't think I'm going to have you do that. And that's pretty much what you'll have to know, okay? So nothing hard, okay? It's not, I'm going to kind of go to more real life math. I think you'll like that better. Now, here's what you're going to start on. You're going to start on payroll, okay? So, this first part's really easy, okay? You got 4 on the back to do. They go really fast. I make $12 per hour at my job. How much money did I make if I worked 20 hours at my job? So, how much money? I'm making $12.50, okay? But that's every hour. Well, I work 20 hours. That means I make this 20 times. So I times it by 20. Because that's every single hour I make $12.50. So I take $12.50 times 20. And I make $250 for that week. Okay, I make $13 per hour at my job. How much money did I make if I worked 30 hours at my job? So again, $13, but that's every hour. So I make that multiple times, and I make that 30 times because it's per hour and there's 30 hours, okay? So 13 times 30 is 390. Okay, now the next one, this guy works at 2 jobs. Here's how you do the 2 jobs. I make $17 per hour at one job. I worked at that place for 14 hours last week. I work at another job where I make $11 per hour. I worked 22 hours there last week. How much money did I earn total? Okay, so I work $17, make $17 per hour, but I make that more than once because that's every hour. Well, I worked 14 hours, so I made it 14 times. Okay, and then I work at my other job where I make $11 an hour. And I worked 22 hours, so that means I made the $11 22 times, so 22. And then I'm going to multiply. So at the first job, 17 times 14, I made $238 at the first job. Then 11 times 22, I made $242 at the next job. Okay, so I add those up. Because I want to add them. I made this much at the first job, this job at the second, so to find out how much bank I made, I just add them, and that's going to be $480. Okay. You'll pause the video and do the back side before you do anything else, okay? Pause it, work on the back side. Okay, and we're back. Now, when you're working at a job, you also need to know what's considered overtime. If you work more than 40 hours a week, you work what's considered overtime. So that means they will pay you more. So if I make $10 an hour, like at my regular job, but I work overtime, then I'm going to make more than $10 for all those overtime hours I worked. So let's say this guy works 49 hours at his job, and I want to know how many of these hours are considered overtime. Well, anything over 40 is overtime. So if I subtract 40, 49 minus 40 is 9, so it's 9 hours of overtime. Okay. This guy worked 56 hours. So again, he's over 40. He worked more than 40, so I subtract 40, and that's 16 hours of overtime. 67 hours, a lot of hours in a week. Okay, so I minus 40, and that's 20. 67 minus 40 is 27, so that's 27 hours. Then 46, a little bit over 40, so you get some overtime hours. So you subtract 40, that's 6 hours. Okay. Okay, because what in this coming weeks, what you're going to do is you're going to take your payroll and split it into overtime and all that. Okay, quick, do those ones on the back, and then we're good there. Okay, now, last one you have. Okay, it says find out how much each salary makes per hour if they work overtime. Okay, so this guy has a job, and his job pays $14 every hour. But if he works more than 40 hours, then for those hours, he gets paid more than $14, a lot more. $14 per hour. Yeah, you don't just work more than 40 hours a week because you're a nice person, okay? If you work more than 40 hours a week, they are legally by law required to pay you more, okay? More than what you are usually make. Now, it's a really simple rule. This person that makes $14 per hour, if they work overtime, I need to always times by 1.5. It's called time and a half. Okay, the 1 stands for the time, the 0.5 stands for the half. It's called time and a half. So I take 14 times 1.5, and that's 21. You want to put $21 per hour. So if he works over 40 hours, he's going to be making $21 per hour. Okay, this guy normally makes $25 per hour, so if he works overtime, I times that by 1.5. So 25 times 1.5, and that's 37.5. Now, if we're talking money, you need to put $37.50. That's how much he makes per every single hour that he works that is considered overtime. Okay, $15 per hour. That's what he makes normal time. Now to find his overtime pay, you take 15 times 1.5. Okay, 22.5. So it's $22.50 per hour. Okay, $12.50 per hour. That's what he makes regularly. Now I need to times it by 1.5 because that'll tell me how much he makes overtime. So 12.50 times 1.5. That's $18.75. So $18.75 per hour. So none of this stuff is really hard. It's just kind of informative things that you would need to know when you get a job.